This Civic Media podcast is sponsored by UW Organ and Tissue Donation. Organ donations are desperately needed, and now is the right time to become an organ donor. Talk to your family. Get the dot. Save lives. Go to heroicdeed.com.
This is your WXCO Daily News Roundup for Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 FM and 1230 AM in Wausau.
For WXCO News, I'm Brittany Merlot. Wisconsin's beloved 9-day gun deer season opens tomorrow. Our hunters harvested about 174,000 deer last year, which is actually down about 17% from 2022. This year, however, hunters have some advantages, according to State Deer Program Specialist Jeff Pritzel.
The mild winter that we experienced last year, and what that means to the deer herd, this year is higher fawn productivity, higher fawn survival from the previous year. And so that means, more deer on the landscape to a certain degree. And also as it relates to bucks, their antler development will be a little bit better this year because they came out of the winter in such good physical shape. That means they can devote a little bit more energy to antler development.
And as per usual, hunters should be on the lookout for chronic wasting disease, or CWD for short. With more information, here's DNR Herd Health Specialist Erin Larson.
So CWD sampling is still available statewide. Anywhere that a hunter harvests a deer in the state, they can get it submitted for CWD sampling for free. However, we do have priority areas this fall that we are especially interested in receiving samples from. So these are around newer detections of wild or farm-raised captive positive detections that are in portions of central and northern Wisconsin.
Hunters need to also watch for elk, as elk populations in the state have increased. It really isn't uncommon for elk to be misidentified as white-tailed deer during the season, but the DNR wants to help keep the elk population intact. Information on how to identify elk for accurate reporting can be found online through the Wisconsin DNR's website. And safety is always a priority during hunting season. Thankfully, last year there were no fatalities. Still, hunters should remember gun safety fundamentals and wear blaze orange. What hunters love the most: snow painting the state's landscape for the first time this season. Yesterday, areas in the Fox Valley and Lakeshore picked up the most. It was coming down heavy at times and dropping visibility drastically, as totals piled up for most areas at around 2 to 5 inches, with the highest reports coming from Slinger and Beaver Dam with 6.8 inches, which is over a half a foot. Now, a majority of it melted, however, some still remains in the Fox Valley, and the storm was needed, as 46% of the state is still in drought conditions. This last system will help areas in the southeast the most, where severe drought lingers in Janesville and moderate conditions extend into Milwaukee. And the gun deer hunting season opener is tomorrow. Officials from the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources are encouraging hunters to participate in their deer donation program. Lisa Hale reports.
The program has been helping to stock food pantries across the state ahead of the holiday season for over 20 years, and hunters have donated over 94,000 deer since its inception. To donate a deer, hunters must field dress it, register it, and test it for chronic wasting disease, then contact their local processor to ensure they have space.
And if you like outdoor recreation in Wisconsin, you can help the DNR with the SCORP. Melissa Kay explains.
The Wisconsin DNR is asking for public input on their statewide Comprehensive Outdoor Recreation Plan, or SCORP. The SCORP looks at why people enjoy recreation in Wisconsin and also asks what barriers people have that may prevent them from participating. States are required to complete SCORPs every 5 years to be eligible for participation in the Land and Water Conservation Fund State Assistance Program.
You have until December 15th to submit comments online, by mail, phone, or email. Find out more at dnr.wi.gov. During the pandemic, Wisconsin gave extra funding to child care providers, which helped them increase pay and stay open. But that funding ended last year. One economist says lawmakers could use our huge budget surplus to help an industry that really needs it. Here's Savannah Tomey-Olson with more.
One of the biggest tasks for the state's new legislature is to write the next biennial budget, and they've got a lot to work with. Wisconsin currently has a $4.6 billion budget surplus. Republicans have said they want to give a lot of that back to taxpayers, while Democrats want to see it spent on things like properly funding the state's schools. One place they might be able to meet in the middle is property tax relief. But but experts say making childcare more affordable would make a huge impact for families. Dale Knapp, director of research for Forward Analytics, says childcare is one of the unique sectors that could really use more government intervention.
The challenge with childcare is you think about who that market is. The market is young families who are just beginning on their career, who don't have a lot of money, and yet it costs a lot. For 2 kids, it can be up to 30-35% of income. The childcare workers, it's not like they're making a lot of money. They're some of the lowest paid workers that we have. So private market in and of itself can't solve this. A lot of times we want the market to solve this, but I think this is one case where the public sector has to come in.
He says lightening that childcare burden would impact everybody, whether they have kids or not. If parents of young kids have more cash on hand, they have more to contribute to the economy, whether that's spending at a small business, donating money to good causes, or being able to buy a home if they've only been able to rent. The new legislature gets sworn in January 6th.
An update on that bizarre story about a Wisconsin kayaker police say faked his own death. Authorities are now in a position where they're asking him to come home. Savannah Tomey Olsen has the latest.
Authorities say 45-year-old Ryan Borgwart of Watertown staged a scene with his kayak at Green Lake back in August to make it look like he had drowned. Officials searched for him for 6 weeks. Green Lake County Sheriff Mark Podol.
He didn't expect us to go more than 2 weeks in searching for him. Well, I hate to tell you, he picked the wrong sheriff in the wrong department.
Then they learned his passport had been checked in Canada just a day or two after he disappeared. He had bought a new life insurance policy earlier this year and had a relationship with a woman in Uzbekistan. Now the sheriff says they've spoken with him. He's sent them a video to prove he's alive and okay. They believe he's somewhere in Eastern Europe. They just haven't figured out where. But he also told authorities about how he staged the scene and escaped. He researched the deepest lake in the state, found out it's Green Lake. He hid an e-bike nearby and then took a kid-sized inflatable boat into the middle of the lake to leave his kayak and dropped his phone into the water. He got back to shore on that kiddie raft. He hopped on the e-bike, got to Madison, took a bus to Detroit, and then went through the Canadian border. The sheriff said now their main focus is trying to convince him to come home. He even got choked up during the press conference.
Christmas is coming. And what better gift he could give his kids is to be there for Christmas with them.
Borgwart would likely face charges if he came home.
The sheriff said he could be charged with obstruction of justice and could be ordered to pay back the $40,000 to $50,000 spent searching for him. I'm Brittany Merlot for WXCO.
The Packers missing some players. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. The Green Bay Packers host the 49ers at Lambeau Field, but head coach Matt LaFleur says they'll likely be without 2 of their best defensive starters. Cornerback Jair Alexander has a torn PCL, suffered 3 weeks ago in Jacksonville. Then at Wednesday's practice, rookie linebacker Edgerrin Cooper pulled a hamstring.
Did not practice were Jair and Edgerrin Cooper.
Any concern about Sunday for him?
Yes.
Kickoff at 3:25. College football, Wisconsin heads to Nebraska to play the Cornhuskers at Memorial Stadium. Game time tomorrow, 2:30. Nebraska 1.5-point favorites. NBA, it's the Bucks and the Pacers tonight in Milwaukee.
Okay, we have an incredible team coming in. Indiana beat us, I think, 4 or 5 times last year. No, actually, no. Way more. 7 times, 7, 8 times. We got to play defense. We got to move the ball. They want to play fast. We got to sprint back. We got to take guys serious. But we're trending towards the right direction right now, so I'm happy.
That's Giannis Antetokounmpo with sports. I'm Mike Clemens.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. So how do you stop getting offered annoying roles in rom-coms that pay you $15 million? If you're Matthew McConaughey, you make a stand and say no thank you and move your family to a ranch in Texas. On the Good Trouble podcast, McConaughey said he had to leave Hollywood because of rom-com roles. The Dazed and Confused star said it was a scary move, and at one point he thought he might have to get another job like teach at a high school until he found out they make nowhere near $15 million. Having summers off only goes so far. If your favorite Ghostbuster was Ray Stantz, this might bring you down. Dan Aykroyd says he has no interest in playing the role again. The Saturday Night Live alum and original cast member has played the character over the course of 40 years and says the franchise is in good hands with actors like Paul Rudd and Carrie Coon moving forward. Glicked's weekend is here, and Wicked and Gladiator have high hopes for a box office splash. Wicked is expected to be the box office winner, with Universal Studios hoping for a $100 to $110 million opener. Paramount is hoping Gladiator 2 pulls in about $65 million, which would be a healthy start for a film that cost $250 million. million to make. Even those healthy estimates would have this twosome fall short of Barbenheimer's opening weekend, which pulled in $235 million a year and a half ago. Actress Rosemarie DeWitt recently appeared on the Drew Barrymore Show and said her husband, Ron Livingston, was so despised for his role as Jack Berger on Sex and the City that he couldn't even walk in New York City without rabid fans yelling and screaming at him. Ironically, when Livingston wanders through an office, he gets constant reminders about his TPS reports. Guy can't catch a break. If the Academy Awards have any meaning at all, they will nominate Denis Villeneuve for Best Director for Dune 2. Those are the words of actor Josh Brolin, who seems serious, adding he might quit acting altogether if his friend is not nominated for Best Director. Yeah, me too. The first Dune received 10 Oscar nominations in 2022, but not for Best Director, which obviously does not sit well with the No Country for Old Men actor. Thespians do tend to be a bit dramatic, but I hope Brolin doesn't quit acting. He's pretty good at it. Those of you who are shower indifferent, love camping in mud, and would like a shot at a serious injury might be interested to know that headliners for 2025's Coachella have been announced. Lady Gaga, Green Day, Post Malone, and Travis Scott will perform, and there will be an appearance by Yo Gabba Gabba. Can't hardly wait to not attend. For more showbiz fun, tune in to Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
It is going to be cloudy today with a high near 40 this afternoon. The wind out of the northwest at 5 to 15. Tonight, low to mid-20s. Tomorrow, partly to mostly cloudy with a high in the upper 30s to near 40. By Sunday, mostly cloudy. Some rain or snow later in the day with a high, again, near 40. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Right now, it's 39.
That's your WXCO Daily News Roundup from Civic Media. Subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you find your podcasts. Find more news at bullfallsradio.com. The national news cycle never stops, but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.